Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Kingdom, the podcast where we talk with the creators behind the comics that have shaped our days, our habits, and sometimes our outlook on life. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Hilary Price, the creator of Rhymes with Orange. Since its debut in 1995, Rhymes with Orange has carved out a space all its own. Smart, observant, sometimes gently absurd, and always rooted in the shared experience of being human. Hillary's work has appeared in newspapers around the world, earned multiple National Cartoonist Society awards, and resonated with readers who see themselves in those small, funny, sometimes awkward moments she captures so well. Today, we're going to dive into its origins, talk through some of these funny moments, how she sees technology in this ever evolving world, and just what Rhymes with Orange means to her. So,
All
hello, Hillary.
right. Let's have some funny, awkward moments together, Alex. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not, right? How are you doing, Hillary?
I am doing really well. Thank you. We're in winter. It is my very favorite season. I love everything having to do with snow and ice. And I'm a winter sports enthusiast. And I love the colors of winter so much.
We were
So
just joking about that offline, about the differences here in winter. Obviously, I'm northeastern, born and raised, but I like a tropical climate. That's why I'm the flip. I'm the opposite side of there. Hillary,
uh,
do you play any winter sports?
yes, yes. Let me make a list.
Okay.
I I play ice hockey. I like to pond skate. I like to downhill ski. I like to snowboard. I like to cross country ski. And I like to walk the dog and, you know, fall on my butt.
I'm laughing here. I'm grinning because I'm saying, well, at this point, I should have just said, which ones don't you play?
Right, 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 right. I
um,
prefer downhill to uphill.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there? I know the Winter Olympics is coming up soon. Is it
Oh,
not? Is it this
yes.
year or next year?
No, it's this year.
This
It's
year.
this year. And I'm a I'm like a super fan of watching figure skating. I just
Oh.
yeah. And there's some little part of me, even though I am not adorned in any kind of sparkle. I love the sparkly outfits. The little you wouldn't know from my like t-shirt and Levi's uniform that there's a part of me that just like sees it as magic. In fact, one for as an adult, I have gone to the ice capades for my birthday. So
I feel like Will Ferrell has like tainted figure skating for me for like ever, and I can't picture anything else but that.
I love that movie. I love that there's a chase scene through a mall on ice skates.
Well, I mean, he's a genius, right?
Oh,
He's done
he's
that with
best.
what's the basketball one he's done as well? Oh, this isn't meant to go deep on Will Ferrell, but anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, there's my sport. If I had
Yeah,
to
what
pick
are yours?
one, um, forgive me. I don't. For some reason, the name is escaping me right now. It's the one where it's not the shock putt. I don't know. I'm thinking it's shock putt.
Oh, oh,
Curling.
the curling? Curling.
Curling. Oh my god, I can watch curling all day long. And I don't know
What?
what it is. It's the shaving. It's that like that.
It's shuffleboard plus cleaning. That's what it is.
I don't know what it is, but it's just fascinating. I'm like, oh, it's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. That I can watch that all day long.
It's it's not it's like a slow motion sport.
I don't know why. I'm telling you, it's just something I just sit there and tinker. It's almost like building Legos in my mind or something. It's just watching this thing and being able to like knock someone out. It's like bocce, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I played
yeah,
bocce in
yeah.
summertime, same thing, just knock out. Yeah. My guilty
Oh,
pleasure.
yes,
Curling.
yes. No sparkly outfits though. You're missing out.
Then I'll find some friends to like bet on it with. Like, all right, we're gonna do a set of push-ups on this or something. Who gets there? Well, that sort of stuff.
Oh my god.
But yeah.
No wonder you're a buff guy. You must lose a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It goes with the name. Like amongst my friends, I poison every bet, essentially.
All
So
right.
Hillary, jumping into rhymes a bit. Obviously the strip has been around 20 years. Is that right?
Keep going. Keep
Sweet.
going. 1995.
Woof, woof. My math is my math.
1995.
My math is my math there. Yeah, we're going
So
on
we're at
30.
3-0,
We're at the
baby.
big 3-0. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's had such a clear, like confident voice throughout its whole tenure. What did the strip look like in your head when you first started?
Oh, you know, I well, not in my head, on paper. It I, I can look over the 30-year span and attest that if you do something almost every day, you get better at it. And I feel like my drawing has gotten a lot better than when I first started. Um, and when I teach cartooning, people are really concerned about, well, when am I going to have my style? When am I going to have my style? And I think that what happens is your style is kind of like your signature. Like when you were in 7th and 8th grade, you were practicing your signature. What's it going to look like? And now you don't think about it at all. You just, that's your signature.
Mm.
And I feel like now I'm not thinking about my style, but when I look at the old strips, I can go, oh yeah, I was reading Bloom County that day because that's what the strip looked like. And now, or I was later on, I used to have like a lot bigger noses, and I was I can tell you the artist that I was like, oh, maybe I'll try that. But um so now I don't think about it anymore. It's just become a signature, but it's become a signature over hours of doing. I don't think about it anymore.
What was going on, I guess, in your life creatively at that moment?
When it started,
Yeah.
well, I think that I got syndicated because um I was living in San Francisco with 5 housemates in a long railroad shack with, cheap rent. And wouldn't you know, that wasn't a life represented on the comics page. And so, uh, this editor at King Features, I think, saw that I could bring to the comics page a perspective that hadn't been represented. So that I think that was the initial. Yeah,
Was that Jay Kennedy then?
that was Jay Kennedy. Yes.
Jay Kennedy, yes, yes,
Yeah.
the great. I guess as you're getting picked up for syndication, were there any were there cartoonists or writers that made you think you wanted like this is something you wanted to do?
Gosh, well, a big influence growing up was the cartoonist Boynton. And they had these like mugs and stickers when I was in middle grade. So I remember being in a card shop, and there were women, but back in the days of a card shop, and there were some 2 women on the other aisle, and they were talking about Boynton, and then they said the word Sandra, and I was like, what? Boynton's a Sandra? Because I didn't know that there were female cartoonists. And in that moment, I had this little, like, I would say, like, a healthy competitive spirit of like, oh, well, if she can do it, then I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like representation on the comics page is so important, because when I just had made that assumption that there, I mean, I love guys, but that they were all guys, that
Yep.
maybe, and that cracked that open. But I was thinking about earlier, like childhood um influences, and I would
Mhm.
say that there were two. So one of them was Dr. Seuss, but not Dr. Seuss the books. My parents gave me a Dr. Seuss, you can draw like Dr. Seuss. And so it was like this bigger than an 8.5 by 11 thing. It had like a spiral. You'd turn it over, and then on the one side of the page, you might see half of a star-bellied Sneetch. And then it was your job to draw the other half, or the top of a monster, and then you would draw the legs. And I remember hearing my nephew's graduation speech a few years ago. And the guy speaking said, if you tell me, I'll forget. If you teach me, I'll remember. And if you involve me, you'll change me. And I thought back to that book. And um, I would say the next book that was, did you get these Scholastic, when you were in school, could you order books from the Scholastic catalog?
Yeah, I remember our book sales
The
and
book fairs?
yeah, yeah, you did
Yeah,
basically the fundraiser just so I can go ahead and and hit that Scholastic book sale, yeah.
yeah. So the one that I got was Ed Emberley, How to Draw a World. And it's a book where he just introduces the drawing alphabet, which is a circle, a square, a triangle, squiggles, and dots. And then he shows you how to draw stuff without words. You'll just say, like, here's half a square, half a circle, and you add a triangle and another circle and two other triangles, and pretty soon you have a bird. And so I got to meet him once my career had launched. And I was telling him what a great influence he was. And he looked at my stuff and he's like, "Oh, you're like me," which of course made me be like, "Ah, you, you don't draw things, you draw symbols of things."
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the magic of cartooning and why kids like it and why it is a more accessible medium for adults to try because your your hand doesn't have to capture exactly what your eye sees, right? You're not drawing
Yeah.
a a bird that's going to take off and fly away. You're drawing a symbol of a bird, and that's enough. So,
Yeah, that's a actually a great point. One of the things, I know, this segues into, I guess, my next question here. That symbolism, what you draw is mostly observational, right? It's observational humor.
mhm,
And it comes from a
mhm,
lot of like small, relatable truths, I guess, that you
yes,
have in there. And I wonder, this is almost answering it with before you even ask, how much of that comes from like deliberate observation versus like instinct?
they're okay, three parts, three parts.
Yeah.
So the first part is um coming to realize that the treasure trove of cartoon ideas comes from uh, what is hard in your life. So if you feel such and such drives me nuts, well, there's a really good chance you have to trust that other people might feel that way. And so that's a great accessing your anxiety, your worries. There's this great New Yorker cartoonist named Mort Gerberg who said that cartoonists are like oysters. They get a little bit of sand in their mouth and they like bother it and bother it and bother it and bother it, and then a pearl comes out. So it's trying to pay attention to what's bugging you and then trusting that you're not alone. So that's one way. And then the second way is accessing that same thing, but in a more, sideways path. So, I play this justification game kind
Yeah.
of as a get your reps mental exercise, where you might put a column 1 through 10 of, whatever comes to mind, whatever, like, person, animal, profession, right? I just go down my page, and then
Mhm.
I fold that page over so I can't see it, and on the other side, I might draw or might write, um, these, locations or prompts, okay? And then I open up my page, and then I play the what if. Like, why does it make sense that a snake would be having knitting needles? And you're not making something up from whole cloth, you're trying to figure out, why does that make sense? And so that is an exercise that can kind of sometimes it gives ideas, but sometimes it's just here's how to loosen up my mind to free associate. And everybody has their own way of doing it. But when you talked about instinct, I feel like I have I now have an instinct where if somebody says something or I see something I now have, I guess, a the practice of like, "Oh, yeah, there's something in there." It may not be like plopped in my lap, but I think that I've like built the muscle that I know something's here and I'm gonna like bite at that piece of sand until I find my way. And there are tricks to it, right? Too. Like if you get stuck and it's not working and you've got two characters and you can't quite figure it out, well, if you've got it from the point of view of one character, why don't you try it from the point of view of another character? You know, you the other character in the comic. Or I feel like the way that I get ideas is that I tend to get the idea and then I audition the characters. So this should be a couple, should it be two dogs talking to each other, should it be a dog talking to a person. Those are all different dynamics and they're all ways to tell a joke, but what's going to be the fastest? What's going to have the most punch? So,
So, um, I guess what age range are you teaching?
oh, when I teach,
Yeah.
I teach adults.
Are you
I
you're
teach
teaching
adults. Well,
college? Okay.
yeah, for a week every summer at the Center for Cartoon Studies in White River Junction, Vermont. They do like a certificate program for year-long students, but in the summer they just have like come to cartoon camp type of thing. And I teach a week-long class about single panel cartooning. And for 5 days I just like fire hose them with exercises and I'm doing it really fast because I don't want their critical mind to take over.
Yeah.
So, it's process over product, and we
So
just do exercise.
within that, do you bring those Dr. Seuss examples or like do you have you made your own Dr. Seuss book?
I
Like finished it
haven't
drawing?
I haven't, but I think it would be fun. I involve them by making them do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it is not me, and we go through reams of paper.
I can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like just right now in these like I guess 10 minutes or so, you expanded a lot on that, right? And what's how much of this is deliberate, how much of this is instinct, obviously the origin, the Dr. Seuss book and all that. And that I would guess naturally permeates into that classroom. But one thing maybe I guess adding to the whole rhymes with orange, I guess that build and what the strip is, it doesn't have recurring characters, and we see so much of that in comic strips across the board.
Mhm.
But I think one of the benefits is the reader becomes the main character when you don't have that. In that observation, right? They're kind of sharing along
Yeah.
with that part of the joke. Was that a conscious choice you had early on, or was it just a byproduct of something else?
You mean why a character or a non-character versus a character strip? Is that what you're
Yeah, yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Without the recurring characters, right?
So, well, comics single panel strips versus comic strips. You're either they talk about either you're going through a you're looking through a window,
Hmm.
and that's a character-based strip, and you're seeing another, uh, family or interaction, you're like, "Oh, that's just like mine." And a single panel strip is like a mirror. "Oh, that's me." So it's 2 different ways to access kind of a shared experience. And I think that I was always drawn to single panel strips. As a kid, we would go over to my aunt's house and, she had cats, but being cats, I couldn't, like, reach my arm under the bed to pet them. And so as a
They might just
sloppy
claw at you
second
or something, right?
yeah, I got, she had the New Yorker magazine, I used to flip through those. And I think I'm very attracted to simple line drawings. So too much shadow, too much, like cross hatching,
Yeah.
that's not where my eye gravitates, and I'm joke oriented. I want jokes. I wanna laugh. So, um, and I have a short I don't have a short attention span, but I wanna be entertained, and I want to be entertained fast. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it would under that lens, right? When you're joke oriented, I think you almost have to be right because the art should almost, while it's either sitting parallel to it or with it, but it shouldn't overshadow it. And if it's too much art,
Mhm.
you're losing the
Mhm.
joke, right? At that point, you're
Yeah.
focusing in on the lines and, to your point, the colors and the cross hatching and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, you got to strike that right balance. It's the right way to be, and your strips are really funny. So
Thank
you're doing a
you.
good job.
I was coloring a Sunday today,
Uh-huh.
and, as I was coloring it, I was thinking about the point of color in a single panel strip,
Yeah.
and the point of color is to tell the reader where to look. It's not that the sky needs to be blue, it's that,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, if I'm painting this if I'm coloring this character with a red shirt, I'm telling you that your eye needs to end up there."
Hmm.
And I feel like there is a structure to a single panel cartoon, and it's how we read. It starts on the top left, and then it's a 40 like a 45-degree angle down to the bottom right. And there are, of course, ways that that is not true, and,
Right.
you can break that rule. But if you'll see that in your for readers to look at single panel gags that way, and you now I notice it in advertising all the time.
Oh
Top
yeah.
left to bottom right.
Oh yeah.
Look at
It's
any perfume ad, that's what you'll see.
it's funny. I'll use this moment to shamelessly plug Comics Kingdom. That's when we rebuilt the website and
Yeah.
relaunched it about 2 years ago at this point. Um, all of that went into the design and look and feel and everything
Mhm.
that you see there, and the color scheme that we have, all that was intentional. That red that you see and that
Mhm.
shift from purple and gold that we had was to guide
Yeah.
the eyeballs from left to bottom right, top to bottom, etc., with action
Yeah.
plans and so on. And so I remember, and still do, we hear reader feedback that's just like, it's just too hard to navigate, or this is too different, and so all that stuff. And really what I hear is we're retraining their eyes, and they don't necessarily like that. But not every
Mm.
single one's in love with that retraining of the eyes, but it is for the better of the experience. At least we believe so, anyway.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, I love that you see that already in your strips, because it is married in what we do in marketing and obviously site design and UI and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Specifically from a color standpoint, red is always action, so you always have that going
Mhm.
on, and it just naturally draws your eyes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
FYI, anyone that's interested in why the site looks a certain way across the web, and for that matter, Hillary stuff, right? We want you to do something.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
fair. Um, when you're drawing there, like say your Sunday, do you ever know when a cartoon's gonna resonate, or does that always like surprise you?
Oof. It's kind of like I don't have kids, but I imagine it's kind of like your kids. You have a
Yeah,
relationship to each strip, and it follows a certain arc. It tends to so you initially, you get the idea and you've got that, like, squirt of happiness. "Oh, I've
yeah.
got a cartoon idea." And then you work on it, and you might go from, like, "Oh, this is good," to, "Oh, this is great," and then you go, "Oh, this is terrible." And then and then it's due, and off it goes. And what is I have this open studio event at my every year or most years at my studio, and it is
Mhm.
so strange and lovely to see people interacting with the strip in real time because it doesn't that's not the medium. I make it, you read it, and then
Mhm.
maybe I get some email back or maybe I don't, but I'm not there to go, "Hey, what did you think? What was your reaction?" It's very separated. So there are times when I feel whatever I'm feeling is the opposite of what is probably true. I get the idea and I think this is great when actually it's not working that well. Or I get the idea and I think this is terrible, but then, 8 weeks later when it appears in the newspaper, it resonates with somebody. So you can't, you know, there's this great bumper sticker I saw that which is don't believe everything you think. I'm just not an accurate reporter. Um, some of the time. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not.
On that same, I guess, um, in that same vein, I should say, of like what's going to resonate. I wanted to bring up a strip that I near and dear to my heart. I love
Mhm,
it. We shared it, I think, on social a few years back, maybe when I first joined the company or so on, and people loved it online as well. It's still one of those things. It's one of your strips from 2006.
Mhm.
So let me share my screen really quickly and make sure that it's visible. Yep, there it is. That tab. Are you able to see it there?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So this, the inmates, right? It's the polar bears that sit there and say, "One day we're going to bust out of this ooze," and the zoo sign is rolling backwards. Can you walk us through, if you can remember, obviously 2006, what that was
I
like,
totally remember.
what that was creating this trip was like?
Okay, so I think one of the ways to generate ideas is to read a lot. And um, I was reading my newspaper
Hmm.
and I flipped to the comics page and I was reading, the strips down, and there was one pantomime strip, and it was about a boy. So pantomime means wordless. Sorry. And it was about a boy, and he was in a zoo.
Hmm.
And what every cartoonist knows is that when people are in a coffee shop, the window doesn't say cafe, it says EFAC, right? Because you're seeing it from the inside of the cafe. So I noticed right away that the cartoonist had just spaced out, and you can't have a kid inside a zoo and have it say zoo. It's got to say oos. And so it was noticing that gave me the idea of the two polar bears saying, you know, one day we're gonna bust out of this oos.
I love
So
how close they are to like the railing, and like they literally just walk over it and get out of there. And it's the one day this is gonna happen.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's one of the things. Another shameless plug. One of the cool things I think that we do well here on CK is we try to keep as much of the comics history and lineage there. So being able to jump through and see, go back in time and see how things evolved is really
mm,
cool.
mhm.
Switching gears a bit. I was gonna go into process, so maybe we can go a little bit light on process. And I want to jump into a question about AI in a second. But before we
Mhm.
go there, what does a normal workday look like for you?
Well, it depends on the day. But because I space it out. I'm somebody. Oh, all the productivity books say that you're at your most productive from, like, 6:30 a.m. after your protein shake to 10 a.m. I am at my most productive at 2 p.m. I am the latest. I am, and I'm a night owl too.
Yeah.
So I feel like I spend my morning doing errands, walking the dog, doing emails, and I kind of feel like that dog that just, like, before they sit down, circles and circles and
Mhm.
circles, and then sits down, and then sits down. And I feel like 2 o'clock is my kind of like, okay, I've gotten through my little niggly to-do list stuff. And another productive hour. So I might do that exercise that we talked about. Or I have a weekly date with another cartoonist, and we'll do that exercise over the phone. And we started doing it during the pandemic, and then we just kept it up. Again, it doesn't always bear fruit, but it's that, like, get your reps type of thing. And then, or I will look at my phone, like I'll uh, have come up with some kind of seed of an idea, and
Mhm.
I have a spiral bound notebook, and I sit there with the pencil and try and figure it out. And I am a words first versus picture first person. Sometimes I feel like when I come up with a picture first, it's just pulling teeth to come up with a gag line for it. And everybody's different, right? They say there are
Yeah.
writers. I'm a writer who draws. Other people are artists who write. Um, and so I usually work. I do my best creative work between like 2 and 5, and then later on in the nighttime, I might go. You know, uh, I guess that I do like inking when I'm coming up with cartoon ideas. I have to be in a familiar space
Mhm.
with complete quiet and nothing. There's nothing on. I am a no sound person.
Really?
Oh. Yes. But then when I'm inking a strip, so what happens is I work on a pencil and paper in the notebook, and then I might then I get my iPad because I've gone to digital now for speed,
Hmm.
but I also like it, and I'll sketch it out. And that's when I'm working out, um, where the text box goes, where the characters go, how it's gonna flow. And that also is a process that I can't have any sound for. And then I let it rest. It's like bread or jello. You have to let it rest and come back to it. And then maybe the following day, when I'm inking or when I'm coloring, which two separate pieces, there's like rest in between.
Yeah.
Then I can listen to a podcast when I'm inking. If I'm coloring, I can talk on the phone. It's just like you're accessing a different part of your brain that it feels more like I don't have to think about things in a scrutinize things.
As you say this, I'm just a few things jumped out at me, right?
Yes.
One, we were talking about like the fitness gurus and all that stuff, and I just had this little gag I guess stuck in my head from that. It's just, I guess if everyone was on that, like you have to, the optimal time is from like 5 a.m. to I guess 8 p.m.
Mhm.
whatever the time was, all right, and you meals and then the most productive, etc. We'd be sitting in like a world of traffic nonstop because all the construction workers would work on the same schedule.
Mhm.
Like there wouldn't be any overnight work, any that sort of weirdness. We just everything would just break down. So there's that. Take that with a grain of salt. Everyone that listens to those gurus. Um, but on that, obviously the process, this idea of passing multiple passes at it. One, do you
Mhm.
see? Well, I would guess yes, but naturally, has that decreased the amount of passes that you take on a strip? And then, what still excites you about making a new strip after all that time?
Mm. What okay. I'm gonna answer your second question first,
Okay.
because what makes coming up with a new strip exciting is the very same thing that a reader enjoys when they're reading a strip. It's for a reader, it goes from the discovery of not getting it to getting it. It's not the joke, it's the joy of that squirt of getting it.
Yeah.
And I feel like getting a cartoon idea is that same thing of like, "Oh, maybe there's something there." So, I used to think one thing and then this thing happened and now I think something else.
Yeah.
That is the joy. And now I forget your first question, but we were talking a little bit about fitness guru stuff. Just
Yeah,
the
the
idea that
multiple passes. Yeah, like that, seeing that shorten over time
oh,
or
oh,
stay
the
the
multiple
same.
passes. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I do, and again, if there's anything to stress, it's that there's not one way to do this. There's not one right way. The fitness gurus might have this and that, but people are different.
Yeah.
And there's not like this path to winning. Like I'm gonna win life. That's
Yeah.
no. Let's move out of that. Let's think about how do we expand from the black and white. I remember giving you crap that time. This is what it was. Um, you and I were there and we were hanging out with a bunch of creators,
Hmm.
and you were saying like, "Oh, you're the creative and I'm the mathy person." And I was like, "Shut up, Alex. Just that's that's not true. That's not stop thinking black and white. It's not either or,
Yeah.
right? That's a super binary way of thinking. Um, that we all have the capacity. We have our various talents, but it shouldn't stop you from drawing, right? Even if you suck, right? Or your mind is saying I suck, right? If you have that if you take pencil to paper and you follow the Ed Emberley like circle square stuff, like you can do this. So
Yeah. You gotta be careful what you say here, Hillary, because I may just take it upon me to draw the cover for this episode and
I
show the
dare
world how bad that
Oh
is.
my god, please, please,
No, 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 please don't make me
come
do
on.
that.
Um, when it comes to I again, people are different, but
Yeah,
I am a collaborator.
yeah,
I want other people's feedback, and so there are various people in my life that have a good editorial eye specifically for single panel cartooning,
yeah.
and, one of them happens to be my partner, and she's a teacher, so she teaches high school, so her blunt muscle is jacked. Like, she can say, "Well, this isn't working,"
Mhm, mhm.
and I have another the person that I Susie Becker is this cartoonist that I talk on the phone with, and I might show her something. And Rena Piccolo occasionally, like, uh and also, a former editor at King. I throw cartoons her way, T. Fugner, and,
Mhm.
so people that kind of just have that, like, laser-like focus about cartooning. And Kristen, for some reason, also just has that even though she's not a cartoonist.
Yeah,
So I really like getting feedback. Not I don't show it to across the board, I might show it to,
right.
whoever will pick up the phone is who I'll
Well, if I can throw my hat in the ring, I will be happy to offer feedback at any point. If you're like, "You wanna check this out?" I'll be happy to say something.
Okay, alright, alright.
Yeah. Um, Switching gears a bit, I know I just mentioned we were gonna talk about quickly, AI,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
here.
yeah, uh-huh.
Good, bad, or ugly is here, right?
Yes, it is.
Um, and we're in a moment, obviously, it's becoming part of creative conversations just everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, as a cartoonist yourself, obviously, uh, and your work is so distinctly, human, observational. How do you think about AI in relation to art? Does it challenge, clarify anything? Maybe reinforce how we feel about things being uniquely human? Or and I guess not that we are going to position ourselves to be the end all be all in any of this sort for how it evolves, but
Mhm.
good or bad.
Oh, I'm just say good or bad? Is that the
Uh
the forget it.
yeah, yeah.
That's not
I don't know if we're
the
gonna present the thumbs up, thumbs down on it today,
No,
right? But
no.
as it presents itself. Yeah.
Oh, it can't it this is gonna be
Yeah. This is
a
a
longer
very
answer.
yeah.
It dep So, I know a guy who does this newsletter,
Mhm.
and it's not about cartooning, and he wants to illustrate his newsletter with cartoons because he sees the value of cartoons because people
Mhm.
read cartoons. And so but he's not an artist. So he will put a prompt into AI and come up with a pretty decent cartoon.
Mhm.
And for product, for not process, the product of it works in his newsletter. So is it that AI has democratized art? So even if you're not an artist, you can uh, get a product that is art.
That's an
Um,
argument. That's an argument I've seen out
that's an
there. Yep.
argument. However, is the point of art process or product? Is the act of creation process or product?
Mhm.
And for anyone that experiences art, um, two things: as a maker of it, and everybody can be a maker of it, and it doesn't have to be cartooning. It can be sewing. It could
Yeah.
be whatever medium is out there, photography, whatever. Um, the joy is not so much the product, it's the
Mhm.
process. That touches the human sense of satisfaction. Um, so and I think people have this, um, ability to tell. whether something is AI-ish. Like, it's
Yeah.
that thing of, like, "Has that person had work done?" Like, something in our in our
Yeah.
in our brain is saying it doesn't quite compute. Um, and what is and so we're not actually connecting to the w there's something about cartooning that the joy of it is in the creating, of course, but it's also in the sharing. So
Right.
that is so important. If a cartoon is drawn in the forest and no one hears it, it's not a cartoon,
Yeah.
right? It is an interactive piece. Um, and just as an aside on that, before we go back to AI,
Uh-huh.
as a cartoonist, when and actually this does have to do with AI, is that I want to put the least amount of information necessary so that you, as the reader, get the opportunity to go from not getting it to getting it. I only want to give 50%. If I'm laying it out for you, there's not the joy in reading that cartoon because there's no surprise. I have given you nothing to enjoy. So I'm going to pivot now just a little bit about AI in terms of Comics Kingdom and
Mhm.
um okay, wait. Before we do that, now about AI as an art form.
Yeah.
Eh, it's I'm afraid it's going to get better than it is. But the oversaturation, there's a style. And I think that it's like a shiny toy now in
Yeah.
terms of its art production where it's like, "Oh, cool new thing." But it it there is some kind of homogeneity to it that that people can't quite put their finger on. And also, do you really it's that thing of, like, you're being cheated. There's you're showing me something, you're saying it's art, but nobody made it. It feels like like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
there
I'm
are
with
5 aces in the deck somehow.
yeah, I'm with you
Something's
there.
up.
I think there's something, and you touched on it just a second ago about how like we can distinctly see it. Like it just doesn't something's not right about AI art, right?
Yeah.
Um, I know this has been tossed around that it's like too perfect sometimes and all that stuff, and you see things that aren't necessarily the best, or quote unquote, even if we're the best. But I think there's a soul that's missing from it, and AI doesn't know, it hasn't learned how to be ugly yet. Like
Mhm.
there's no real
Yes.
imperfection in its art.
Yes.
Like it's just like even the ugly art is still kind of structured right, quote
Yes.
unquote right, and you can see that it's like devoid of the human. Like there's just not anything that really went into it. It's odd that our brains can pick up on it, but it's also exciting that our brains can, right? Because
Mhm.
otherwise
Mhm.
we'd be kind of screwed if we couldn't discern it at this stage. What that
Right.
means in the future, though, who knows? It keeps getting better, right? To your point,
Well, especially because the completely immoral part of it learns from stealing from humans.
right?
It's scraping. It's
Right.
scraping from so if it only knows a very tight line, once it learns a looser line, it has learned it from a human.
Right.
It did not iterate that itself. It did not think it itself.
Mhm.
So, mm,
I wonder if there's ever going to be. I'm getting the future. I'm giving away a bit a good idea here. Maybe a good idea. What if there's like an AI artist that's drawing its own scripts, right? Like it's so much of AI art is what we want to see, right? So an
mhm,
artist himself, or to your friend that has a newsletter, or a person that you know that has a newsletter and they're creating things for that product. But like an AI that just wants to talk about what it's like being like an AI, and similar
mhm,
to like the zoo example, like looking out from the AI lens and drawing its own
yeah,
art, would that be awesome? And in my mind right now, I'd be like, I think I'd be open to see what an AI thinks it is, right? And
mhm,
just drawing what it would look like. And then
but it
it's totally antithetical to what you just said about what we just said about, but it's not human, but it'd be
but
its
that's
own
the
thing, I
thing,
think.
there is no there there,
Yeah, right, right.
right? It's only mirrors refracted.
Yeah,
So, boy, can it refract and such, but you're saying, does it have a soul?
Yeah.
And it does not.
Yeah.
But that is such a like an ethereal thing to be talking about.
Oh yeah. This is one that I think we'll get together at some point and sit down and
Mhm.
talk and really nuance on that. Because it does go down a deep, deep kind of like existential kind of conversation. What is that? What is life type of stuff.
Oh,
Um,
but let's talk about AI in terms of Comics Kingdom for a
right.
second, because you and I just touched on that earlier
Yep.
before we got on the air. And you want Comics Kingdom to be a place where people can find a
Yep.
cartoon.
Yep.
And the way that it's structured now in the back end is that the technology is there. When I send you a cartoon, when I send King
Hmm.
Features a cartoon, it is able to read all the text,
Hmm.
right? And so it catalogs it for the text. But the whole point of having it be a cartoon is
Yep.
that you want to show more than you tell. So if I have a rabbit and I have an egg, I'm not gonna say Easter
Yeah. Yeah.
because that would what a single panel cartoon is. It uses a cultural shorthand. If I said Easter, you'd be like, duh. But if you read a cartoon and it's got a rabbit and an egg, but
Yeah.
you say, I want a cartoon, that Easter cartoon, and I haven't literally said the word Easter in it, you can't find the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to say what maybe you, where I AI.
Yeah. That's to your point. I think this is where right. I don't pretend to um know what the future lies in terms of AI. To our point, how it's going to evolve over time. But I know right now there are some really positive use cases for it in art, and this is one of them. In being able to visually index and search through things and do it at much greater speed than a human can. And so we have visual search built into the platform. It's there on Comics Kingdom today. It's not ideal because a lot of it is the text framework that's been either manually tagged over some course of time, or we've been able to decipher, and the tool itself over the years. AI can augment that. And that I think is something that we're really interested in. It's not ready. We've been experimenting with different things. But the idea there would be to open up that context, because so much of, to your point, and what we know to be true, cartooning is the visual. And you're not necessarily searching for text. Like we talked about the ooze example, and
Mhm.
finding the polar bears. I remember the polar bears first and foremost, and then the ooze and all that, but not the text in the bubble. And so
Right. So
finding
you
that would
couldn't
be
find that.
right. I would need to say polar bears, zoo, match some sort of
Mhm.
combination, and then filter through a bunch of different things. And that's how, we as humans kind of index visuals. So being able to bring that to the forefront is something this is where I think AI and art naturally marry.
Well,
Search
see,
indexing, things like that, database management, stuff like things of that nature.
I wonder though, and we're just spitballing here,
Hmm.
is that if you've got if it's better at words than is at images,
Hmm.
and if you've got well,
Well, what's funny?
look,
It's actually the flip. It's really good at image recognition and what's happening in a photo or a piece of art. It's really good.
a
Scarily good.
piece of art like a cartoon, like
Yeah,
even the way I draw.
it's really good at
All right,
describing the
I'm
scene,
super
what's happening.
curious.
Yeah,
For our listeners here, I'd be super curious if we put the ooze strip
yeah,
to AI,
yeah.
what AI would tell us about that strip. Is
Well,
that
that's
something you can do?
that's something we can do. That's something I experiment with that all the time. It's really relying upon the framework you establish for the AI. So the prompting, right? Like, what is it looking for? You tell it, I'm going to give you this piece of something, and I want you to go from top to bottom, left to right, blah blah, orange to black, what you really want to come out of it, but describe what's happening in that scene, and it will pretty reliably. I will wager to say it's at least 90% accurate today.
Okay, I seriously it would be a really interesting thing for
Yeah,
this podcast once you show the ooze strip to put in and see what AI says about it.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that'd actually be a fun example. I'll do it. I'll make a note that we'll do it right now.
Okay.
And I just marked the clip there. So I'll come in
Yeah.
and I'll do that. I'll do the video thing and voice it over. But yeah, as you go through it, you'll see the output and it'll tell you exactly what's going on in the scene. Now, where we find some trouble is it's not necessarily reliable in the back end tagging of what that metadata would need, right? So that a search indexer would be able to pull it in to the front end for you or use it again. It's
Oh.
not necessarily matching that all the time. It'll make up stuff, and all that crazy, the hallucinating
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah.
But it can read an image very reliably, as you can see. It's really
Mhm.
cool.
Hmm.
Um, so, work to be done there, I suppose. But those, I think, again, are the natural marriages where AI and art, and this is one of them where AI and art can really coexist. The other is just, again, to your point, existential. Like, what do you think? If you is it has it evolved to a point where it's it's art, or not? And then
Mhm.
what does that mean for everything? Not that we presume to have the answers, but
Well, I
fun
mean, it may
conversation.
not be art, but it looks great over the sofa.
As I guess in a newsletter sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, the other aspect of this is the human cost to the creative economy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, if you're if you're focusing on product and the idea that anyone can create a product that is art, you're not focusing on process, and process is creative thinking for human beings.
yeah,
So, drawing something is solving a puzzle, and I think we are wired to try and solve problems. But you're taking out this swath, and this is not my idea. Jason Chatfield talks about this.
yeah.
If readers are interested in this, I just want to give him his due.
Give him
He
his due. I love
talks,
Jason. Yeah,
yeah, who doesn't love Jason?
yeah,
So, but he talks about, let's say, at a design firm, um, when you are in your 20s and you're cutting your teeth in design, you've got to do the production aspect. You learn by doing. But AI has completely cut out that entry level thinking, and we can't get to advanced level thinking before we do the entry level thinking. And so there are the jobs for artists are even more precarious than they were. So,
yeah. You're absolutely right. Because I'm of two minds there too, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Right, there is a hugely disruptive element to AI. All of that art across the
mhm,
board. You see it across
mhm.
all industries, right? And specifically here, as we talk about art. One other thing I see, though, maybe it's just my nature. I'm heavily optimistic. I'm always glass half full, right? The other the other side of that, or I guess the where I go with it is as this isn't mass market anymore, right? It becomes where AI democratizes or cheapens or destroys that entry level path and everything, and really just makes it so that it's not discernible, whatever. But there's this subset of users, and we see that already. There's a rebuke to AI happening in some circles where I think the artist will drive more value by being human and non AI. And so there's this other side of it that's positive. The downside, of course, is that how much of that will exist. And that's always
You're only
I'm
gonna get a few. I mean,
yeah,
what if I can't say the percentage, but for every person that has made their mark as a human, there are a much larger percentage who are
yeah,
out of work and, you know, great. There are a couple success stories. There always are. But take newspaper cartoons,
yeah. Perfect
right?
example. Yeah,
There used to be 2 papers in every town. I was trying to tell somebody I had breakfast with, about if someone were to ask me today how I became a cartoonist.
Yeah.
Back then, I was like, "Okay, first you need to go to a library and get a book that isn't published anymore. Then you need to draw strips and FedEx them to a main building. And then a group of sales you'll create a paper package of your cartoons that will be disseminated by salespeople that
Yeah.
will drive around in cars to the different newspapers in different regions and sell the paper and sell the cartoon." Like, that is not how comics get started anymore.
Nope.
It's not how comics are disseminated, where newspapers would get pieces of paper and then cut and clip them,
Yep.
either download them. I mean, now they're downloaded, but originally it was a cut and paste affair.
Yep.
Um, Even how we consume what I'm calling newspaper comics have changed.
Yeah.
We used to read horizontally, where it would be, uh, famine, cyclone, war, comics. And it was a left to right experience with
Yeah.
comics as a sweet treat at the end that was like a punctuation mark of you are now done with the paper. Now we read like this
Yeah.
vertically, and there's no end to that. You don't go, "Oh, I've hit the end of the internet." There's no, and comics don't function as a punctuation mark to say, "All right, now get out of here and go to work." So, as somebody behind the scenes at Comics Kingdom,
Mhm.
how do people, since it has been uncoupled from a newspaper and newspapers have changed,
Mhm.
how do people consume comics, and why do they consume them, and when do they consume them? You tell me. I'm really curious from what you've learned. You're
No,
back
no,
there pulling all the
that's
handles and stuff.
that's actually a great question, right? I think we did a podcast here on Inside the Kingdom early on, and I'm gonna go back to when we relaunched the website
Yeah.
that had a lot of that thinking in it. So I recommend everyone, in addition to what I'm gonna say now, go back and listen to that where we sat with the engineering team and we talked through all that sort of stuff. To a not a greater degree, but we some of the thought process that went in there.
Yeah, nerd out.
Um,
Put a link in there in
yeah,
this
yeah,
to that.
I'll put it in the link in here so that people
Okay.
can go back to that episode. It's one of our
Yeah.
early episodes. But anyway, in a nutshell, you're absolutely right, right? Like, so the newspaper page has changed vastly from how they present it online to what's happening in their physical prints, right?
Mhm.
Whether they're leaving markets altogether or you're seeing, just less of, right?
Mhm.
Smaller
Mhm.
papers for that matter, and all of that. Readership, though, has in that same time, multiplied, ballooned, right? And so comics, you hear this a lot. People say there's a comic renaissance going on and so forth. And a lot is that middleman and that gatekeeping element, to your point, sending something to a physical building, having someone shop it around before it's even seen by anyone has been
Mhm.
eliminated. So now you can get
Mhm.
to market so much faster, social media, your own
Mhm.
websites. So behind the scenes on Comics Kingdom, what we do is one build portals for that renaissance. So people that are actually actively searching polar bears, right?
Mm.
Or winter themed things and falling into what it is, those cultural zeitgeists. Because I'm going to shout her out here, our president, CJ. She says this often in, just meetings we have or just conversations. And you've probably heard her say this to you a few times. There is no water cooler moment anymore.
Mhm.
The newspaper
Mhm.
was that to a large
Mhm.
degree. And then think of HBO and so forth, but Netflix and the world has changed. There is none of that
Yeah.
anymore. Now what you have are niches that all
Yes.
search for their things. So at Comics Kingdom, we try to provide a lot of niches, but at its
Mhm.
core is this one big collective niche, which is if you love comics, you're going to see a ton of great stuff here.
Mhm.
So far we've been right. How much
Mhm.
more correct we can be. We stand to gain ground there, but there's competition across the internet as well and social media for that matter. So this is where I get to that thought process of in a world of AI, there's still going to be a pocket of folks that will derive value from that. And it's not incorrect to say that there's going to be disruptive to a bunch of people. It's true. True. Every year, you're absolutely right.
By
They're gonna be years and
disruptive, you mean bloodshed. I mean, not maybe not physical, but
yeah, but
people
you know
out
what
of
I
work.
mean. Yeah,
Let's not
yeah,
just say
yeah.
disruptive like, "Ow, a gnat," you know?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly. I am not, and it's funny because I experiment with AI and different things, my
Uh-huh.
whole personal life and everything, and my children, they do the same.
Mhm.
And I have this kind of, am I being old? Am I just being an old dad about like disdain for it? And then I'm also excited by, oh my god, like everything that I grew up with, flying cars are coming, right? There's that part of
Mhm. Yeah,
like my
yeah,
brain
yeah,
that
yeah.
also
Yeah.
gets triggered by this. But what I say is that yeah, I think there's gonna be a period. It's gonna be pretty ugly for a lot of things, right? A lot of thought work is gonna go by the wayside because this stuff can, either do it good, bad, or ugly, can do or mimic and whatever it is. And there's a lot of I guess gatekeepers or people that hold the bag across all these sort of like places that don't really care about the soul of something, and it's a bottom line driven type of thing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But what I see that makes me really optimistic and hopeful is that there's people like you and I, like
Mhm.
Jason. There's conversations I see online. There's when anyone, specifically a brand, puts out something AI, but even on a creator base, puts out something that's AI based on social media, you see the comments like, we don't
Mhm.
want that. And so they
Mhm.
right now we don't want it. I don't know what that means 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, but right now we don't want it.
Mhm.
And that to me gives me hope that we'll be able to drive the value of like, this is not AI, like putting that stamp on it. This is not AI. It's something that I hold near and dear as part of Comics Kingdom. And I talked about experimenting on the back end. Where can it meet? But like that 100% human, it's almost like 100% organic. Like there's something about going
Mhm.
an organic burger versus getting that processed one. And I
Mhm.
think we'll see some of that in art, in comics. That's at least that's what I'm hanging my hat on. Otherwise,
Mhm.
I'll be on the bread line with you, Hillary. Like,
Mhm.
wow, AI
Mhm.
changed everything. But I have to remain optimistic that there's a future here for the folks that don't want that process stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, I feel like the conversation we're having now, like, eh, it's I don't feel like I'm bringing anything to bear in these, like, last 10 minutes to
Yeah.
what people haven't talked about.
Right.
So, I feel like now we're, like, in this echo chamber. Like, we're not breaking new ground. I might even say that, like, this is the most boring part of our conversation because we're not saying anything new that other people haven't said. So, I don't know, I'm just cut it or don't, but, like,
Yeah.
we, like, are just sitting here, going like this, like everybody else is. If we have, like, some really interesting thing that has to do with comics that makes it unlike every other conversation about, AI. People are
Yeah.
talking about AI just like a year ago, everyone was talking about air fryers. Like, I don't know, it was, like, the thing to talk about. But,
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think, I think there's honesty in admitting that. Like so much of AI conversation right now is boring because AI is just like this buzzword, this boogeyman that's coming down the pike, but no one knows what to do with it.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
who
yeah,
knows
yeah.
what to do with it?
Well, okay, I
Yeah,
got a question about Comics Kingdom. In
yeah,
terms of readership, do you notice that people read from like 7:30 to 8:30
yeah.
or noon to what? Like, what are the reading
Oh
hours?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious
Oh
what the
yeah, yeah.
habits are that you've noticed.
Oh yeah, we see that all the time. So there's an answer that's the a truth to that maybe most people don't want to hear. It's related around age.
Oh,
So
well, so this is interesting. Tell
yeah,
me.
it's related to age.
Yeah,
At
let's
least from
let's
what I
talk.
see,
Okay.
yeah, at least from the data we see here. So older audiences tend to do the morning newspaper experience and come to the
Hmm.
site in the morning.
Okay.
And you'll see that from 7 to about 10 a.m., read through our
Okay.
material and so forth. Then throughout the day, we see the other kind of like demographics come in, if you will, right? And so those can be all through the night. But I'd say peakish, probably around like noon, 1 p.m. And I feel like that's lunchtime reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really kind of like driving that. You see that in
And
social
what
media
age
too.
group is that?
That's what you'll see. Basically, your office work, right? You're thinking
Uh,
about probably early 20s to mid 30s. Yeah, I'd have to
Okay.
pull up to look at real true data here in front of me, but
Mhm.
I know pretty reliably though. The morning hours are staunchly, our older demos,
Mhm.
and it's funny because I get emails nonstop about whether that email doesn't come into someone's inbox on time in that morning,
Oh,
right?
oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And there's a routine built in there that comes from exactly what you talked about before, right? So much
Mhm.
of the newspaper experience was I read through what happened, my highlights, and I get my end. Or I'm just reading for that in the morning and then I'll catch up on the highlights, right?
Mhm.
What I saw in that newspaper. But that pattern has married itself to online as well.
Is there any since we were talking about AI, is
Hmm.
there anybody that you've talked to, any cartoonist who has something original to say? And I'm gonna say that none of my stuff is original. It's just, the same old chatter, chatter, chatter. Who's blown your mind?
Who's blown my mind on AI? In the art world, I share the same cynicism you do. I think everyone's saying the same thing.
Mhm,
I tend to listen or look into the AI engineers or devs, and specifically the ones that are sounding alarms about AI. Yeah, what are they not telling us about AI is kind of what I look for, right? Because
mhm,
you're gonna even right now, as we talk about art, you're gonna hear the best and what we not what we want, but what naturally comes out of talking through a medium or something that you're producing and is a product of yours and part of your business and what you do. Yeah, I got to talk about the pitfalls of it.
mhm. Sure.
Not, and that's not that you're intentionally not talking about pitfalls, but it's just it doesn't come out of that conversation. And so the combos I listen to that are really blowing my mind, I listen to a great podcast, Diary of a CEO. I think is a great podcast out there.
Oh, I've heard about this one.
Very good, very good. And sits with a bunch of leaders, science leaders, doctors, influencers for anyone that I guess is really reputable in the field. Um, and he's had multiple episodes specifically, and he's not the only, but he's had multiple episodes where you hear high level warnings of like what's coming.
Mhm.
And that interests me a lot because again, it's not what's being promoted to the masses.
Of course not.
It's not what's being given to us, and so
Mhm,
that piques my ear a lot. And
mhm.
and none of it, it's closer to the bloodshed uh uh
Model.
model that you mentioned before, and unfortunately not for just art, right? It's a lot of things.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And again, I can tell you things you already know that everyone's also already talked about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But I think it's again, we're in this collective, we don't know. There's a small
yeah,
set of people that are actually making these all decisions and giving us AI, but we don't really know what's
yeah,
happening with it. We're kind of just being fed this thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we we went
You
on a
you
tangent
you
there.
can
Good one.
you can cut the boring stuff. Like, if we if um
No, I don't like cutting anything. I think this is a good conversation because I think it exposes exactly what you said. Yeah, and what we just solidified really in form. If anyone is actually stuck through this AI part of the conversation, no one knows where this is really going. So
I
finding pockets of where you can make it work for yourself, I think is important. And I think setting guardrails for yourself are most important, right? Like we won't ever use, and this is business and me personally, we won't ever use AI to create art. It's just not a thing for us.
Mhm,
We will look at how to process large data sets with it. That just
mhm,
makes sense. Just why not? It's like using a calculator in some ways.
mhm, mhm,
Right?
mhm, mhm.
I
Yeah,
actually
sure.
joked about that with my son. He's like, "Oh, why do I need this?" And it was a conversation of your teacher telling you you're never going to have a calculator around all the time, but hello, I have this thing now, and it's always there.
Mhm, mhm,
And so why do I need to learn math? Well, you need to learn math obviously for different reasons and all that sort of stuff and go through that the logic processing and everything. But at the end of the day, as an employer myself, I I wouldn't look fondly on someone that pulls out pen and paper to do a math equation or something,
sure.
right? I'd say, "Where's your Excel sheet? Where's the
Hey,
proof behind
grandpa.
this?" Like, yeah, like you're not about to give me pen and paper and give me a forecast for next year.
Mhm,
That's not gonna
mhm,
work out.
mhm,
Um, I can see that being a subset of stuff that AI is good for.
mhm, sure.
But
Mm,
with that said, as we wrap here,
yeah.
right? AI not aside.
Okay, okay, here's wait, wait, wait. with the ooh strip, right?
Uh-huh.
Show I wanna see where it falters, like, so you've got the strip, you've
Yeah.
got the AI read, and then I wanna see you ask AI, pull out the salient points. The part that you said that it hasn't figured out yet,
Yeah.
like, let's show the people on this podcast where it's at right now. Like, so if
Sure.
you
Sure.
say, "Here's this, here's the" you've read this cartoon. What is the most important part of this cartoon that we could use as tags for the Comics Kingdom website to see if you, the end user, the reader, can read, can search. Like, what would you have to search for given what AI has said is important?
Sure. Sure. Actually, I love that. I love that because here comes, I guess the hammer, right? The ugly part, the things that they don't want to, that people don't really talk about. To your point, what are they not saying? So much of what is potentially going to be on the table is that these soulless tools will be telling us how to think.
Mm.
So, like, as we go through this video, as I show you how AI looks at and synthesizes the strip and thinks what's most important, there will come a time, and probably shortly, there will come a time where that will be the gospel. That will be the Wikipedia entry. That'll be what's most important. But
Oh,
that's not
oh,
really it, you know?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so that will suck. That will suck. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then Hillary, you'll have to come and community note the image on like Google or something and say, no, that's not what the point of the strip was. I meant to
yeah,
say this, and this. Right. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, this is gonna be cool. I like this experiment. I'm really curious what's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. This is a cool experiment. This is one.
Okay.
All right. So as we wrap though, I always like to fans and also readers alike, um get behind the wheels, or your wheels, I should say, and think about like, well, what do you hope someone feels after they read your strip? Or read one of Rena's strip for that matter. We haven't
Yeah,
talked about any
yeah.
for that.
I the best compliment that I get is not, "That was so funny." It was, "That was so true."
Mm.
And the if somebody buys a print, the best compliment I get is that I put it in the bathroom so everyone can read it.
Why the bathroom? It can be like the entryway.
It could be, but if you're just gonna sit down and you need an alternative to your phone,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, that is a place that it's like a in addition to the hallway, but you're only in the entryway for a hot second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, you're right. A lot of good thinking happens on the throne there, right? uh, what advice would you give a cartoonist trying to maybe trust their quieter or more personal voice?
Um, I need a second.
That's okay.
That that your relationship to cartooning changes over time. That it's like a relationship, like a long-term relationship. And so in the beginning, there's that like first blush of, "Oh my gosh, I'm so in love." And that's good. You want that. And that over time, it it changes from a passion to a vocation, and it's a practice. You have to, as you keep doing it, if it's not just a one night stand, um, to know that there are going to be peaks and valleys, that you always have your personal experiences to mine, and that is where cartoon ideas come from. Your own your own anxieties, your own failures. Your failures are what is funny, right? I would say that the secret to something that is humorous is that there's a status change. That's why you have the jester in a cartoon is always the smart one and the king is the dumb one,
Mm,
right? High status to low status.
mhm.
And in your own life, you're going to experience high status moments and low status moments, and you're going to get the ideas from the low status moments. So, um, I, I, I am not somebody that's up at 6 journaling every day. That's not how I've done it. And to think that there's a certain way to do it is to just you're being snowed. That is, you find your own way to do it. But I think, though, that if you're gonna do it as a practice, if it's something you wanna do, you can't think of cartooning as dessert at the end of your day, because we're so tired at the end of the day from doing all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
you kinda have to see cartooning as a vegetable. It's good for you to incorporate in your meal. It's not the last thing you do. So, um, I would and then another thing, you said one thing, but too bad,
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go
is
on.
that it's important to have an accountability buddy. So, we may not show up for ourselves, but if you're gonna meet somebody and say, at the end of the week, you're gonna work on your whatever, your story, your written story, and I'm gonna work on cartoons, but we're gonna talk every Friday. Even if you so that is gonna create the external deadline, um, that you'll meet. And having that accountability buddy is just something that not everybody, Rena would have a completely different answer. Um, but it is something that's worked for me in my other creative projects that I've learned, from cartooning that I take elsewhere that I teach students. So those are a smattering of thoughts.
Oh, those are great thoughts, and that's great advice. Actually, I'm going to use that myself. I have some meetings internally that can probably turn into that with colleagues and so on. Then
Yeah,
it's good to have an accountability buddy.
yeah,
Well, Hillary, this has been a joy. I love every time we chat,
yeah. Me too.
even when it's after an award dinner or any of that sort of stuff. We can just sit down and just mind meld for a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, your insight, of course, and for creating a strip that's just made so many people feel seen over the years.
Uh,
Um, if you're listening and want more Rhymes with Orange, you can explore Hillary Price's full archive.
and
Now
Rena, and Rena, and Rena.
And Rena, of course, Rena. Love you, Rena. Full archive right now at comicskingdom.com, of course. It's a perfect place to slow down, scroll, and
Mhm.
reconnect these everyday moments that make us laugh. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. It's how you can help like-minded individuals enjoy this as well. And until next time, we'll see you on Inside the Kingdom.
Thanks, Alex. Take care. Thanks so much.